Shalom, all praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kwadash. Double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners from the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, as well as to the 144,000, and may this lesson be, Lord's willing, edifying and informative. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Ratazah. In the news, Billionaire issues dire warning for U.S. economy. The country's growth is at risk of falling to zero, Ray Dillow claims. The U.S. debt crisis is looming as the American economy is facing a risky fiscal situation, according to the founder of the world's largest hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates, Ray Dalio, or Dalio, however you may pronounce it. Dillow's warning comes as the country's national debt topped 33 trillion this month, and this debt is associated as thick clay in the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, the 6th verse, which we will now read. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 6. Shall not all these, who are the these? The these are the heathen nations, take up a parable against him? Who's the him referring to? Esau, Edom, who rules America, Babylon the Great, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe, which means destruction, to him that increaseth that which is not his, because Esau, Edom, as a history of increasing that which is not his through extortion, through greed, thefts. How long? So how long is this going to continue to go on? And this is the point. And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And that word thick clay in the Hebrew is ibatyat, which means heavy depths or heavy burdens. And the current national debt, which is 33 trillion, which really is far more than that, is that heavy debt, is that ibatyat. Okay, now this is in the CSB, and we'll also read the various other comparisons. Won't all of these take up a taunting against him? With mockery and riddles about him? They will say, woe to him that amasses which is not his. How much longer? And loads himself with goods taken in pledge, debts. NLT, but soon their captives will taunt them. They will mock them, saying, What sorrow awaits you, thieves? How, excuse me, now you will get what you deserve. You've become rich by extortion. But how much longer can this go on? And so Esau Edom has gotten rich by extortion, by pledges, debt. It's no wonder why the nation is over $32 trillion in debt. It reads on to say, U.S. lawmakers are currently negotiating a spending bill before October the 1st deadline, which they just recently passed 3 spending bills to avert the shutdown. You wanted to had sent that to me earlier, and it's become a pattern, man. Every single year they do this shit. Every single year they always put it in the news. Oh no, government shutdown, and then at the last moment they pass a couple of bills to avert it. But eventually, the time will come when they won't be able to. We're going to have a debt crisis in this country. Delio told CNBC in an interview that aired Thursday. How fast it transpires, I think, is going to be a function of that supply-demand issue. So I'm watching that very closely. According to the U.S. Treasury Department, the country's debt levels have skyrocketed in recent years, particularly after a roughly 50% jump in federal spending between fiscal 2019 and fiscal 2021. Investors have been raising concerns that interest rates may continue rising as the situation worsens, and it will. And that will only make it harder for businesses to thrive because they rely on loans. They rely on borrowing money to make money. On their balance sheets, it's called liabilities. Interest is how much it costs to borrow money from a bank or simply a lender. And if interest is extremely high, then companies will be less inclined to borrow. So they'll have to start cutting on production, which will burden existing supplies. And you know the rest. It says, Dillow has cautioned there could be more headwinds hitting the economy than just high debt levels, with the risk that growth may fall to zero. I think you're going to get a meaningful slowing of the economy, the Billionaire warned, which is a deflationary. The U.S. averted a historic default early this year after President Joe Biden signified a bill suspending Washington's $31.4 trillion debt limit just 2 days before the deadline in June. The debt ceiling was lifted through January 1st, 2025. However, the fact that the U.S. was close to failing on its massive debt could hurt the country's physical reputation, analysts have signaled. That's why the U.S. had received a series of downgrades earlier this year because of this delay. In August, rating agency, and there it is, Fitch slashed the USA's credit rating, citing physical deterioration over the next 3 years and repeated debt ceiling talks. Over the next 3 years and repeated debt ceiling talks. Earlier this week, rating agency Moody's warned that a possible government shutdown on October 1st would put pressure on the country's credit rating. This concludes the article. And the credit rating of the country in time will only eventually get worse as debt continues to mount up and become a lot more heavier. This is why, again, the scripture mentions that thick clay, that ibayat. This is the YLT. Do not these, all of them, against him a simile taken up, and the moral of acute sayings for him, and say, woe to him who is multiplying what is not his. Till when also is he multiplying to himself heavy pledges? So how long is this man going to continue to multiply his debt? How long is this man going to continue to thrive in his extortion? This is the DBY. Shall not all these take up a proverb about him, and a taunting riddle against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that loadeth himself with pledges. Pledges is debt. So, you brothers and few sisters got the point. I will conclude the lesson here. A nice, short and sweet. I would rather say it has been informative and edifying to you out there that are new. So with that I say shalom to the elect.